Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and welcome to Overwatch Central. So this is going to be a video talking about the Rework Mercy movement, mostly in a positive light to be honest. I'm quite surprised at how well people have argued their cases without getting abusive, much like people did in the Delete Brig movement. There's a lot of confusion and almost misconceptions that come through with that, such as people believing that the Rework Mercy movement is purely down to reverting Mercy back to her old state with a mass res. We'll go over that fairly soon. I also do want to include the opinions of pro players, seeing as they have the most time and have played a lot of Mercy themselves, and these are the players that play that support role, right? So it's not just a DPS say delete the hero, she's trash. These are heroes that do enjoy playing Mercy and dedicate a lot of time to doing so. But generally the movement boils down to players are really bored of playing Mercy, they feel that she has very low impact, and she's also not very fun to play. But before we go into anything, I felt it was very important to look at where Mercy is in terms of stats, and these come from Omnic Meta. Switchfox sent these to me the other day, and we'll start with a win rate comparison, and as you can see, it's not massively different from some of the other supports. She has about the same win rate as Ana in GM, and a lot higher across the tiers. There's a big rise up from Ana, for example, as players get used to her. Brigitte's is hilarious, but we don't really need to speak much about her. But as you've seen, it's not a huge drop, it's not anything massive. Looking at the usage comparison though, we can start to see that her pick rate does dwindle off in a very similar fashion to Moira's, although it's a lot more consistent across it. Mercy doesn't hit the same peaks as Moira does. For example, in Silver her pick rate is 60%, and for Mercy it's only 45%, but both do drop off, and Mercy does have a higher pick rate than Moira in GM. But looking at other spots such as Lucio, Zenyatta and Ana, they are all rise up in popularity. And also healing done, which is a big stat for Mercy because she doesn't really add too much else. She on average provides the second most healing, Moira just winning out on top. But this could be due to a lot of GOATS comp being played. Moira of course is really good in that composition and would explain why she's doing so much healing in the highest tiers. No doubt because the rest of the team are playing tanks and she's just healing them all up. So when you look at stats, Mercy doesn't look like she's in any trouble, right? She's doing okay, is probably the only way that you could describe it. But the community has rallied up and offered their dissatisfaction to Blizzard, saying that she doesn't feel very good to play. And I can certainly understand that. Mercy was of course nerfed about 14 times in a row before she was buffed, and that buff was just to increase her healing output whilst using her ultimate Valkyrie. This came fairly recently and it was a nice change to Mercy, but it didn't really change too much up with how much she was played, how fun she was. It kind of fell into Mercy being the same sort of hero she was before. Overall, I could get behind the movement. I fully support people that are going to talk about their dissatisfaction with a hero, that they don't find them fun or engaging or impactful. You're well within your right to voice that opinion. And the way that people have argued on Twitter, for example, has been very respectable. It's been a discussion, not an argument. There's not been any names thrown, at least from the Mercy side of the argument, I don't believe, at least from what I've seen, which is a hell of a lot different to how I've seen people react to Delete Brig, for example, which is a lot more volatile and a bit more venomous. Another big argument I want to highlight is that players feel that now's not the time to bring up Mercy when some other elements of the game such as GOATS, Comp or Brigitte need fixing first. And that's a very valid argument to have, like it's a very good point, but in terms of silencing an argument, I don't agree with it at all. If Mercy players can't express their frustration at the hero now, then when can they? It's always going to feel that Mercy's going to be low priority in terms of how the community talk and deal with her now. So yes, whilst it's not a high priority, this conversation can and should still be happening. People talk about buffing Reaper, making Junkrat a little bit better, for example, or even just making Reinhardt more fun to play, and he's very meta right now. Now I want to go over some sort of choice picks, I suppose, coming out of the pro community. 3 very valid voices. I'll start with Dyer, who was for Season 10 ranked 1 Mercy in the world on Overbuff. Playing about 90 games with a 67% win rate certainly qualifies him to give his opinion on the hero. He says that Mercy is fine as she is, minor buffs perhaps is all she needs, but she has a place with Pharmacy right now and takes more skill than she ever used to. People complaining that her ultimate is dull, I think just don't realise that Mercy as a character has always been. Fair enough if you think the character's boring after playing it for so long and after so many changes, but no change / rework will fundamentally change the fact she is a dull character unless you completely change her, and at that point they're basically a new hero. This was a major point that really turned my head on this discussion. The old Mercy wasn't, I think the term dull is maybe a bit much, but she's a very basic, straightforward hero, and I feel that when players are saying that she's fundamentally boring and non-impactful, I think that's always been the case. In fact, a lot of her kit is much more interesting and engaging now than it was before. Stuff like Guardian Angel, the new Resurrect, it's hard to use, Sure, Valkyrie doesn't have the same impact as Mass Resurrect used to, but in terms of the rest of her kit, it doesn't feel like there's been too much change. Her state in the meta is also really worth pointing out. Really, if you're looking at where she fits into this meta and where you can actually play her, if you're looking at the highest tiers at least, it really is only to pair with a pharmacy. Everything else, not so much. Back when we were in sort of a double sniper meta, with Hanzo, Widowmaker being played a lot more, Junkrat, Orisa, remember that composition? That's where Mercy used to shine, and she was played an awful lot then. Even this version of Mercy, where she is obviously a lot weaker than she used to be, she was still being played quite a lot, so I can certainly understand that the state of the meta being frustrating for Mercy players because you can't really play Mercy GOATs after all, it just doesn't really work. I can certainly understand that that will have an impact and an effect on your opinions of Mercy, and really the only time you get used is to pocket a Pharah. I can understand as well that will be really fun to do. Cruz, of course, plays for Paris Eternal, played a lot of Lucio and a lot of Mercy when she was very meta. Says, am I crazy for thinking Mercy doesn't need a rework? I love playing Mercy, her kit is great. She's not getting playtime at the moment because of the GOATs meta, not because of her kit. If anything, she needs a slight healing buff. Dredro, who honestly for me is one of the best Mercy players in the world, and plays for Samsung Morningstars, says that Mercy's perfect, situational hero as she should be. Cruz then added if it was a double sniper meta or a Pharah meta, Mercy would be played all the time. Again, some really solid points. It's nice to see though that all of the pros at least agree to an extent that she could do with some buffs, especially to her healing. Like I said, these aren't DPS players that hate the hero. This isn't a delete brick movement that has, been focused and created by DPS players. These are Mercy players. Some of the best Mercy players in the world. Probably played more Mercy during the season than I have across all of my heroes in a certain season, right? They have dedicated a lot of time to this hero, and the fact that they still find her engaging and fun to play is very interesting, very surprising, but it feels that they're quite happy with the state that she's in, but they could do with buffing her a little bit. I'm certainly on that side. I want to see more love to Mercy, that's for sure. I want to see more positive changes coming to her to make her a little bit more engaging, just a lot better, but I think a rework is a bit much. That brings me on to the point of the revert Mercy movement, which is bringing Mercy back, getting rid of Valkyrie, and giving her back mass res. And personally, I really don't like that idea. Not so much that I feel that it would be worse for the hero, but I feel that it wouldn't change up an awful lot. I feel that people really act that Mercy was a really good hero before the rework, and she was okay, but she wasn't the best hero out there. I think maybe players are looking back with rose-tinted glasses at that version of the hero. But in terms of balance, I can understand why people want that back, because Mercy could be played across all of the different tiers. Even in GM you had players like EVA really showing how effective she can be in the right hands, but in the pro scene, she wasn't used at all, so the pros never complained about having to play her. Not that that's any excuse, but you do get the point that you could play her in any tier, she'd have a good amount of success, but she wasn't like Moth meta pick where you had to pick her in the pro scene. I think that's where a lot of the disdain for Mercy and Mercy plays came from, and that really hasn't gone away with this movement. Just to take a quick sidebar, Overwatch does have a really big problem with sexism. I had a game yesterday. From the gameplay that you've seen, I played a trash Mercy by the way, but I wanted to get some gameplay and have a bit of fun playing her too. I got called a whore by one player because a Genji wanted to dive in and try 1v6 the enemy team and complained that I didn't go to help and heal them. And that was on an account that was called Ryan Central, right? I can't imagine the abuse that some players come in with just a feminine name. And the amount of times I've heard the word e-girl used in an argument against Mercy in certain situations on the forums, on YouTube, is pretty bad. But again, I didn't want to go on for that too long. That is another big issue itself. I feel that it's almost been 3 years since this game has come out, and of course a very medic playstyle is of course going to seem pretty boring and lackluster to a lot of players. It's like having beans on toast every single day for 3 years. After a while you're going to get bored of it. Simplicity is nice, but you kind of want something a little bit more spicy, right? But as I said, I'm totally down for people to express their concerns with the hero, to hashtag rework Mercy, to talk about how they'd change the hero. I think that's a really positive discussion, and I appreciate everybody that's taking it on in a very respectable manner. So I feel it's more appropriate to just put hashtag buff Mercy at this rate. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments below. Please, again, keep it respectful. Hopefully you enjoyed this video discussing the Mercy meta and what it entails. And until next time, take care. We'll see you then.